let's talk about a real head-scratcher of a story. It's about Incheon International Airport, an absolute giant in the aviation world. They just had one of their best quarters ever. But behind all that success, there's a crisis brewing that could unravel the whole thing.
First, just to give you a sense of the scale here, with their huge Phase 4 expansion all done, Incheon can now handle 106 million passengers a year. I mean, think about that number. That puts them in the absolute top tier of global mega hubs.
And you know what comes with that many people, right? A ton of money. For 2025, the airport is on a path to completely smash its all-time revenue record. We're talking a projected income of 2.9 trillion Korean won. That's well over $2 billion US.
So you put all that together, the massive passenger numbers, the operational machine, and what do you get? Well, you get the world's third busiest international airport. The only ones ahead of it are Dubai and London Heathrow. It is, without a doubt, a true global giant.
So yeah, let's start with the good news. Because from the outside looking in, the third quarter of 2025 wasn't just good for Incheon. It was a massive, record-shattering triumph. They were on top of their game.
The momentum was just undeniable. Post-pandemic travel didn't just recover, it absolutely exploded, pushing passenger numbers way past what they were seeing even before 2020. With that brand new expansion humming along, every single revenue stream, from landing fees to the shops, was just soaring. It really looked like a perfect, unstoppable success story.
And this, right here, is where we get to the core of the paradox. If the airport is making more money than ever, then why are the businesses inside it, the shops, the airlines, on the verge of total collapse?
Because that's exactly what was happening. While the airport corporation was popping champagne corks, a serious storm was gathering right inside its own terminals. Under that shiny, successful surface, a totally different story of financial ruin was unfolding for its partners. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's this wild disconnect. On one hand, you have the landlord, Incheon Airport, celebrating these historic revenues. And on the other, you have its tenants, the people actually running the stores, staring down the barrel of record-breaking losses. It somehow became a zero-sum game, which makes absolutely no business sense.
So, how on earth did this happen? How did a situation that should have been a win-win for everybody turn into a devastating trap? Well, it all comes down to a very unique and, as it turns out, very controversial way of charging rent.
It's called the rent-per-passenger model. So instead of paying a fixed rent every month, the retailers agreed to a fee that moves up or down depending on how many people are walking through the airport. Back in 2023, when everyone expected travel to boom, this seemed like a pretty fair deal for everyone involved.
But here's how that fair deal just backfired spectacularly. The travel boom? Oh, it happened. Passenger numbers surged, which, because of the contract, automatically sent rent costs through the roof for the retailers. But, and this is the absolute crucial piece of the puzzle, the way people were spending money had completely changed. Travelers were spending less on luxury goods. So you had this insane situation where rent was skyrocketing, but sales per person were plummeting. It created a mathematical death spiral, where the rent literally cost more than the money the stores were even making.
And look, this wasn't just some abstract problem on a spreadsheet. This rent model was causing immediate, real, and devastating financial damage to the airport's most critical partners.
The numbers here tell a really stark story. On one side, you have the airport just cruising towards record-breaking revenue. On the other, its key partners are bleeding cash. Shilla and Shinsegae, two of the biggest names in duty-free, posted huge operating losses. Even the national airline, Korean Air, saw its profits drop by almost 40%, and they pointed directly at rising airport fees. The whole ecosystem was just buckling under the pressure. The situation got so desperate that Shilla Duty Free did something almost unthinkable. They actually decided to break their 10-year contract. They figured it was better to pay a massive penalty to get out than to keep operating under these conditions. I mean, that is a massive vote of no confidence.
So, what did the airport do while its partners were in crisis mode? They refused to budge. The retailers even took them to court, hoping for a rent reduction, but the airport corporation just held a hard line. No compromise. It seems they were focused only on maximizing their own short-term profit.
And that brings us to the future, and the real price of this so-called success. I mean, Incheon Airport clearly won the battle of Q3 2025, no question. But you have to wonder, by pushing its partners to the absolute brink, did it just set itself up for a much bigger, much more painful strategic loss down the road? So what are the big risks as we head into 2026? Well, for starters, with major tenants like Shilla walking away, you could have huge, empty, premium retail spaces just sitting there. They'd have to scramble to find new tenants and probably have to offer them much, much lower rates. In fact, some analysts are already predicting this could cause a 40% drop in future rent revenue. The golden goose, it seems, might be gone for good.
So the bottom line is this. This story is about way more than just one good financial quarter. The airport's hardball tactics got them a short-term win, for sure, but in the process, they've completely destabilized the commercial ecosystem they rely on, and now they're facing a much bigger fight for a sustainable future.
And that really leaves us with the final critical question. In a system like an airport, which is so deeply interconnected, where the success of the whole place depends on all its individual parts working together, can the hub ever really win if its most important partners are losing?